Public Affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Singh Group at Merrill Lynch, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 25 years.
The 11th hour is fast becoming the 12th hour for the Rock Island County Courthouse, and a play that shows how tough it can be to stage a successful play, and why it's something you can also laugh at in the cities. Preservationists vow they have not given up their effort to save the Rock Island County Courthouse. Demolition is scheduled to start next week, but we know that can change because uncertainty seems to be the only thing that's certain about this case. And joining us is Diane Astrike with the Rock Island Preservation Society and an opponent of the demolition of the courthouse, County Board Member Rich Morthland. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, absolutely, Jim. Thank you for having us on today.
You've been behind the podium. I thought you made your opinions quite strong there.
Yes, I did. Thank you.
So let me ask you, and let me start with that, is that in a way you're telling me this is a done deal as far as the county is concerned. If there's any preservation, you're not going to have to depend on the board to get it.
Well, Jim, this has been a fascinating campaign. We've been in wonderful people, completely ad hoc organization. We're just people who care. I am doing my job because I'm representing my constituents, but we've just been trying to do this the best we can, as we can. It has been incredibly fluid. I'd say probably because the other side has been in a headlong rush to get it down so that it's in the rear view and they can claim final victory. But the fact of the matter is that we have people who are working hard, who care very deeply, and who believe they're in the right. I've received many calls from constituents. I've only had one anonymous call from someone who said, tear it down. Everybody else says, save it. In fact, I talked to a friend who's an architect background. I said, what do you think about it? He said, how's the foundation?
Kick the tires.
I said, the foundation is incredible. He said, then save it, because if you have a foundation, all else can be made well.
Well, Diane, I mean, that's what people say about houses. Double check the basement and make sure.
And you introduced me as saying the preservationists want to save it. We started that way as big preservationists. Right now, I'm saving it as a taxpayer. It is so good, as Rich says, that people, including the county board, have believed all these things, that it's crumbling, it's falling down. It's not. The walls, the floors are sturdy. They couldn't even find a place to move the county recorder's office.
Right.
Because the buildings, they had to spread the records out.
Right.
The building weren't strong enough. So there have been lies, flat out lies, told about the condition of the building. Mechanically, yes, it can be hot in one room and cold in another. All that needs to be redone, and it can be redone. County got estimates from 3 companies that range from 14 to 19 million to redo the building. But still, we keep hearing 22 million from our Chief Justice, our Chief Judge. The numbers have been out there in lies, basically.
Well, we can relitigate that, and I understand that, but let me, and I do want to get to that, but let me start with what's happening right now. The only way that you're going to stop this is through the courts, is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
I keep telling the preservationists that unless the county board acts under court order, the county board is not going to take any other steps to save the courthouse. So yes, we would need that. And currently right now, the asbestos mitigation is going on. That would be happening either way. It has to happen either way. So that's no additional cost to the taxpayer, and it's an ongoing process. So, and that is still not done. I got a call from the man who's doing it yesterday, so I know it's still going on.
Now, my understanding is that the demolition is scheduled to start next week.
Well, the demolition originally was scheduled to start December 6th or something.
Right.
That is another moving target.
So that's what I was going to ask you, Rich, in particular, because the last we heard was January 14th, Monday, January 14th. So does that mean that's the 12th hour? Is that the deadline if there's going to be a lawsuit that's filed to stop this? You'll be second. Wait a second, Diane.
Okay.
Let me get
you were looking at me, so
exactly.
No, that's fine.
Do you know, Diane?
No, I do not.
You don't. Rich.
This is a battle we're going to engage in until the wrecking ball hits. And that's all that matters, because these things are fluid. When have you seen a construction project that didn't face occasional delays? Well, destruction projects are even more uncertain, especially when you're working with a historic structure like this, when there are many other agencies and courts that may come in and say, wait a second, we don't need to destroy this. We don't need to take it down. You know, they built this thing and clad it with Bedford limestone so that it would last for hundreds and hundreds of years. I have 2 grandchildren. I want to teach them about the history of our county, and I'd like to do it with a standing object, and I'd like to see that object repurposed and have a beautiful future as a strong anchor in downtown Rock Island.
But if there were a lawsuit, if there were a stay of execution for the county courthouse, what would be the basis at this point? Because a judge has already dismissed the last suit. Part of the reason being who filed it, I believe, that it's not a county taxpayer or a person who actually has some skin in the game, so to speak. Diane?
He is a taxpayer. He dismissed it because he said, as a taxpayer, you have no rights if you're not a bondholder.
I see,
and it was
right.
the legal issue of the bond.
The bondholder, not the tax.
Yes.
Thank you for correcting me.
That's been part of the difficulty. Again, these folks I'm working with are an assemblage of some of the most good-hearted people I have ever been around in the history of my involvement with politics, and I should stop there. But the fact of the matter is, we're not professionals at this. I field calls from constituents. I make votes as I can. I work with the good people who step forward and say they need to try to work to help. But even though Diane's been in preservation and historic renovation for a long time, there's still areas we're all playing catch up on.
Well, and Diane, I want to get to that, but I want to stick with one more point, and that is, I mean, obviously this is a building, if a tornado is going to hit, you want to be in it. I mean, it is rock solid building.
Glad the newsman went on record with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've never been to my house. But anyhow, but the point is, the Rock Island County Board has been criticized, even by fellow members, that you guys didn't take care of the building. There are problems inside that building. Not insurmountable problems, you might add, but there are problems inside the building. So does the county actually hold a little bit of responsibility for getting us to this point where people think, oh, this is a lousy building?
Unquestionably. This has been a historic dropped ball. This has been a historic series of errors. This has been neglect, perhaps even planned and engaged in for, I don't want to say that somebody has nefarious plans. I can't say that, or motives that they're, but with Rock Island County politics, there's always a risk that you're dealing with smoke and mirrors. And in the end, it's really not about the motivations. It's about doing the thing that is right and saving this beautiful historic courthouse built to have the brightest future for Rock Island County more than 100 years ago. They built it right. They invested in it deeply. And when they dedicated it, the newspaper called it a temple to truth and justice, the people's temple to truth and justice. That's how they viewed it back then, and I would just love to keep that vision alive.
Well, the one point that I always like to point out to other people is that the courthouse was built, I believe, 122 years ago, 123, somewhere like that. Kitty corner from that is the administration building, which used to be the modern Woodman building.
Headquarters.
Same year it was built.
Yes.
But it's a tale of two very different buildings as far as structurally inside, no?
Oh, not really. The county's letting that go too. That's what we're concerned about. When the county turned it over to, when Modern Woodman sold it to the county for $1 or so, about 1968, as I recall, it was in immaculate condition. And now things fall off. They don't fix leaks. Is it planned? I don't know. I tried to find out who was in charge. Somebody told me the sheriff was in charge. The sheriff says, I'm not in charge of the building. I'm only in charge of the courts and the jails. Who's in charge? I don't know. And I don't know who. He said, oh, the county board is. Well, to have a group of people in charge of making maintenance decisions is a little bit difficult.
It is, and this is one of the complications, however, in county government in the state of Illinois. A county board is not inherently very powerful. However, we are doing the budget, and the budget should have maintenance in it for all our buildings, especially if they're historic.
Well, I bring up the point only because one building is in better shape interior than the other, is the point that I'm trying to make.
Right now, yes.
The asbestos is being removed from the courthouse in preparation for demolition. How does that impact, and there's been parts that have been sold or preserved in some ways, how does that impact the shell of the building, the inside of the building, whatever a buyer wants?
We don't know. You can remove asbestos in different ways. If there's asbestos on the floor, you can pull it up because there's maple floors, where there's not terrazzo or marble mosaic, but you can do it very destructively. I have not seen the report as to where the asbestos is. We know it's obviously wrapped around pipes in the basement. If they can be removed, not a big deal, because you'd be running new pipes with new climate control. They can do it in different ways. And so we don't know, and everything is done under a great cloak of secrecy. It's like pulling teeth to get information as what's going on.
It's been incredibly difficult as board members, and not just me, to get any real updates from leadership.
Well, and critics would say that why is it always preservationists are at the last hour? Why are you guys always chaining yourself to a building that's almost ready to fall down on its own?
Well, it's not ready to fall down, as we have found. But first of all, this demolition was not in the original plans filed with the state. Right. It's not written down. And some people say, oh, we just knew it was going to be torn down. Excuse me. Public government should be responsible to the public and put things out there. You don't do things behind closed doors. That's what we've heard. And people have gone through minutes of county board, minutes of PBC. That was never written down. So this is a new thing. That's why they didn't get the permit from the state.
Initially, right.
It's not in there.
We have heard repeatedly, or at least a few times, is that there are interested parties in taking it over. What do we have written down? I mean, saying you're interested and really being committed are two things.
There are 5 different developers, potential. I am very familiar with 2 of them, Joe Lemon and Restoration St. Louis. I've seen their work. I know they have the resources. Joe Lemon said he'd buy it tomorrow. You can't make a firm offer without knowing what the county wants. That's why it has to be, the county has to decide, what do we want? Do we want it used for county purposes? Will we let you use it for condos? Will we sell it? Will it be a 99-year lease? So nobody can come in with a firm plan without knowing, without having the county communicate.
But it doesn't sound like the county wants, I mean, the county wants, the vote has been by the county board, a majority of the county board just saying, that's it.
Yes.
We want green space.
Jim, even that was done in secrecy. Not in secrecy, the vote was public, but county board members were informed privately of what they should do, of what the right thing to do was, and that this was all inevitable, and that we should just go with the flow. And the fact of the matter is that just like mushrooms, bad government grows best in the dark when fed manure. And that's the way things have been being run at Rock Island County, especially in regard to this issue recently.
You're just going to nod.
I can't disagree with that. And getting information, for the most part, especially from the PBC, has been like pulling teeth. At least you can see
Public Building Commission.
At least you can see county agendas online before the meetings and have an inkling of what's going on. But there's also the difficulty, unless you get a committee chair to put something on the agenda, it doesn't get to the committee of the whole. And it doesn't get to the county board.
And we have failed at every attempt to do that.
Yes,
and
we have failed.
There have been multiple attempts by members.
We like to celebrate the fact that we have casino gambling boats in the Quad Cities. So what are the odds? what are the odds? Sorry, that's a terrible way of asking. I apologize, but we just have a few moments left. What are the odds that you believe that the Rock Island County Courthouse will be standing at the end of 2019?
I am like Rich. My heart is there. My hopes are there. I will never give up until it's on the ground. So I'm not a gambler, with that said. You know?
Okay, yeah, that's the caveat's there.
Amen. I just can't say enough that it's wrong that the people who want to tear down the walls do so behind closed doors.
County board member, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jim.
Rich Morkland and Diane Oestreich, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to see what's going to happen in the hours ahead. Literally the hours ahead.
Thank you.
In a moment, a play about a play that's seen better days. You could call it a work in progress. But first, here's Laura Adams, Out and About.
This is Out and About for January 7th through 13th. The QCCA Expo Center is the site for Bald Eagle Days coming January 11th through the 13th. The annual event includes live eagle programs and live birds of prey demonstrations. Big Run Wolf Ranch, Exotic Wildlife Sanctuary, and Jim Nessie's Cold-Blooded Creatures are all in attendance. The Arc of the Quad Cities area is holding a trivia night at the Plumbers and Pipefitters Hall in Rock Island on January 12th. And have you ever dreamt of breaking free of Earth's gravity and exploring the wild terrain of different planets and their moons? Then visit the Great Planet Adventures, a mobile planetarium show in Putnam's Discovery Dome, which puts you in the seat of some of the wildest rides of our solar system coming January 12th. Backed by popular demand, the Luciano Antonio Brazilian Quartet returns to present 2 free concerts at Knox College in Galesburg as a part of their Winter Jazz Series on January 12th. Or join a brown bag lunch and learn on January 7th beginning at 11:30 a.m. This is the first in a series of discussions. This one will be on the 1856 Railroad Bridge. The discussion takes place at the Rock Island Arsenal Museum Building 60 and is free to the public. Playcrafters Barn Theater present the farce A Work in Progress by Alexander Richardson, opening January 11th and running through the 20th. For more information, visit wqpt.org.
Thank you, Laura. Our 35th anniversary celebration continues on WQPT with one of our biggest events just around the corner. Tickets now on sale for WQPT's Champagne on the Rocks event. It's coming up Friday, January 25th at the Davenport Outing Club. This year, the president and CEO of Public Broadcasting, Paula Kerger, will join us to talk about PBS programming for the future. It's a night for you to bid on great prizes as well and perhaps even win some free jewelry. How's that sound? Get details about Champagne on the Rocks at our website, wqpt.org. We are proud to highlight local musicians each week here on The Cities. They perform original work that you can hear in many venues around the area. Keith Soko is one of those talents. He's a St. Ambrose theology professor with a story to share. Here's Keith Soko with Digressed.
I was hanging out with a couple of engaged Buddhists. We're talking about peace and love and social justice. All of a sudden I started thinking about you and your red dress. Hard to try and help the world and I get a little bit digressed. Thinking about your red dress. Oh yes, you know it's hard to try and help the world and I get a little bit digressed. I was hanging out with a couple of environmentalists. We were talking about how this planet's really in a mess. All of a sudden I started thinking about you and your fishnets. Hard to try and help the world and I get a little bit digressed. Thinking about your red dress. Oh yes, you know it's hard to try and help the world and I get a little bit digressed. I was hanging out with a couple of liberation theologians from Brazil. That's hard to fit in one verse, but I guess I will. All of a sudden I started thinking about you and your red dress. Hard to try and help the world and I get a little bit digressed. Thinking about your red dress. Oh yes, you know it's hard to try and help the world and I get a little bit digressed. Oh yes, you know it's hard to try and help the world and I get a little bit digressed.
Keith Soko with Digressed. Playcrafters Theater in Moline is bringing to its stage an original production that, in some ways, pokes fun at the craft they love. It's called A Work in Progress, a comedy about a theater troupe that is facing seamlessly countless challenges each and every day. And joining us is the author of A Work in Progress, Alexander Richardson. Congratulations.
Hi. Thank you.
And a cast member, Jesse Moore. Thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
So you've already gone in front of an audience.
Yeah, we had our first invited dress last night.
Yeah, and so a nail-biting, knuckle-grinding.
Yeah, it's a special kind of horrifying, too. Anytime you even just direct a show, just to have that first audience is horrifying, but when you're the director and writer, it's like a special kind of, oh God, what's going to happen?
A Work in Progress. Tell me the inspiration of that. It is not autobiographical?
No.
Some experiences.
Almost, unfortunately, almost everything that happens in the show I've seen firsthand in real life.
Nice.
It's happened, everything that goes wrong I've seen happen countless times to countless people. It's way too real for way too many people. So it's not really biographical or even autobiographical. It's just unfortunately honest.
Well, just to be honest, I mean, a lot of people say you don't want to know how the sausage is made, you know, but it's got to be kind of fun to be poking fun at something that you know so well, the theater.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's been an interesting process because, you know, normally when you do theater, a lot of this stuff stays in the background and you don't see it. People are unaware of it. And we're dragging into the light a lot of the things that do happen in the background, but also a lot of the things that do go wrong in the background.
Well, let's be honest, it's a comedy, but I mean, the things that go wrong in the background is misery when it's actually happening.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So is it fun to kind of be poking fun, going, oh yeah, I do remember something like that happening to me?
Yeah, it's interesting to, as an actor, to do things that are the opposite of what you're trained to do, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it totally does. And is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. My goal every day was we would come to rehearsal, I'd be like, I want you to make this as bad as possible today. And so people would have to go and be like, what's bad? And they would have to like sit and like actively force themselves to do things that every bone in their body was like, stop doing what you're doing.
Well, I gave just a skeleton, put some meat on the bones. What is it really about?
It's about just a theater company that's basically they're out of money. They have nothing left for them. They've kind of like run out of talent and anything worthwhile. And so they're like, we're gonna throw everything we have at this one last ditch effort show. And they lose their lead actress Monday of their opening week. So they have 5 days to replace the lead. And
that's never happened.
Yeah, that's never happened. Not once.
Never.
And they have 5 days to fix everything, and just every day something else goes wrong until the show.
Was it cathartic for you to write this?
Yes, it was like just getting my truth out there, to use a horrible stereotype.
Is there a particular actress you were thinking of when you wrote it?
I wish it was one.
I was going to say, you're able to vent here, aren't you?
Yeah, a little bit.
Tell me about the rest of the cast. I mean, what do you love about this particular play?
Everybody has really gelled really well. We all kind of came in. There were a lot of folks that I had never worked with or I didn't even know. And it took very little time for everybody to find their place in this. We all get along. It's been an incredibly collaborative experience. Yeah. And I'm just really happy that the folks that I'm working with are as talented as they are and copacetic to changes. I mean, this literally has been a work in progress.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, when it comes to a play or staging something, the ensemble is so critically important, not just the one person. It's not, you know, just one person on stage. And I would think it'd be even more so for something like this.
Yeah, and then, I mean, obviously, not to give away too much, but my particular character plays the entire ensemble. So that in of itself, I think, has been interesting for both myself and the actors around me, who are absolutely not used to something like that happening.
So I think I'm getting a little idea of some of the plot right now. I'm sorry that I brought that up.
No.
I don't want to give
wonderful.
away anything. Oh, that happens, huh?
It just might make people more interested and come to see.
What do you want the audience to take away? I mean, just a good belly laugh, or is there a message behind it but like pity us and what we do?
No, absolutely. The goal is just laughter. And I think at one point, one of the characters within the show even makes a joke, is like, does the story have to have a point or even a purpose? And not really. I think this is really just a night where it's all about the laughter. There's nothing we want people to take away other than just a good time.
So you've written it. You've gone through rehearsals. You went through a more formal rehearsal in front of a test audience, so to speak.
Yeah.
How many changes? I mean, especially with a comedy, and we were talking earlier, is that Thursday's audience can be a lot different than Saturday's audience, which can be different than Friday's.
Absolutely. Every audience is different in its own way, and so the show almost changes in its own way every night because the actors are just all hams. So the moment that they find the audience likes a certain kind of joke, they will play to that and just milk that for all it's worth.
Yeah. Is it easier, Jesse, to perform in a performance that the author is standing really close to you?
It's the first.
You know what I mean?
My background, actually, I started in doing Shakespeare.
I was just going to say, because Shakespeare's not on your
and
shoulder.
He's not around anymore.
I heard, yeah.
That I know of.
Yeah.
And so, yes, it's been incredibly different. Alex and I worked together before on a play that had already been written. And so in that sense, he was just a director, and it was, you know, the same relationship I've normally had. It's kind of harrowing when you're doing something that someone you know wrote.
And it's close to their heart.
Yeah. And also, unlike Shakespeare, you've never seen anybody perform it before. You have nothing else to base it on.
That's a good point, too. But this is your baby. I mean, you really have to be opened up to different interpretations than perhaps you even thought and went, wait a second, this works, or, Oh my gosh, Jesse, what do you think?
Yeah, no, and that absolutely happened because there would be a lot of times where actors would take a line I wrote and just throw it out the window, and they're like, I can do it funnier, and they would say something funnier. I was like, that's way better than what I wrote. Let's keep that. And that happened a respectable amount of times.
Oh yeah.
Well, does it almost have to?
Yeah, and I think that's really what shows should be sometimes, is that sometimes the actor should have that freedom to just, I know this better, and just to do it, and that's something you don't get the chance to do a lot with other written works, because it's the way it's written. You have to do it that way.
A lot of times you just take those chances without even asking.
You know, it's the power of who's in front of the camera. Remember that, everyone. It's the power of who's in front of the camera. Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Alexander Richardson, Jesse Moore. It is called, once again, A Work in Progress. It is hitting the stage this weekend and next weekend, including Sunday matinees at 3. Go to playcrafters.com for ticket information. Lastly, we want to mark the passing of a longtime member of the WQPT family. Jerry Myers spent 3 decades behind the scenes and was at the heart of so much of what we've accomplished. Jerry died on Saturday.
You seldom saw him, but you heard him often.
You're watching WQPT, a broadcast service of Western Illinois University, Quad Cities.
The voice of WQPT, Jerry Myers, was also part of its driving force. Jerry started at WQPT 35 years ago, retiring in 2015. Many may remember him as an instructor of television production at Blackhawk College. He helped launch our program, The Cities, and countless other projects here at the station, and the deepest love for his family, friends, and television. Jerry Michael Myers is survived by his wife Pam, his daughter Kara, grandchildren, nieces and nephews, and 2 dogs, Pearl and Wallace. Jerry, we miss you, but we will always be thankful we knew you.
Public Affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Sing Group at Merrill Lynch, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 25 years.